5 things that need to be verbalized. The first thing you're going to do is the cylinder pressure. Okay, I want you to state the cylinder pressure because this is the only time you're going to have your packed cylinder in front of you. In a moment, it's going to be behind you. So that's the first thing you're going to verbalize. And then as you go to turn it on, you are going to announce that, and again, you can say ring up, you can say low air alarm, something that lets me know that you heard it and you know what it means. Okay, your unit did that. Okay, I don't care if his did it, because I'm not using his. I want to know if mine did it. Okay, the next thing you'll hear shortly after that is your electronics will beep in. So you can say HUD, you can say pass, you can say electronics, any of those simple things, but keep it simple. A word or two. So 4,300 PSI, ring up, electronics, okay? Seal and exhalation valve. So if you push down on your air switch, you will not be able to get air in as long as you are not connected, okay? So I want to see that mask crush against your face. I want you to know that nothing is going to get in past that seal. And then I want you to blow out, which will exhale the air outside. So seal and exhalation is the next thing. And then finally, as you get ready to do your work, pick up your tools, go inside of the building, wherever the case is, look down and make sure your gauges match. That's the 5th and final thing that I want you to say out loud for Don. Okay? This all should have been checked during your inspection of the SCBA, but they're 2 separate things. So the inspection, you start shift in the morning, that's when you do that very thorough check. And for purposes of this academy, verbalize everything, and you're not on a time limit. Don't limit yourself in terms of time and say, I've got to get this done in 6 minutes. No, I'm not ever going to put a time limit on you in the inspection of your SCBA. I want to do a complete, thorough inspection, make sure everything works. Then when you don it, it's going to be a very brief inspection. You're not going to look at the hydrostatic test date of your SCBA cylinder or any of those minor things that you do want to check at the beginning of the shift. So it's going to be quick, down, and dirty when you're donning the unit. And that will get timed down the road. I don't want anyone to be timing anyone yet. I don't want anyone racing anyone yet. Again, I want you to put it on 100 times perfectly, flawlessly before we start racing, because actually I did see racing going on this morning. You and you don't do that, because what happened? What did I tell you? I walked by and you forgot a step. Okay? If you had not been racing, you probably would have remembered the step, I'm guessing. So it's not a good thing yet. I want these things to get automatic in donning before we start getting the speed. And the speed is going to come just by doing it over and over and over. And then if you want to race near the end, have at it. But not yet. All right. Homework. You're recording, right? All right. Oh, speaking of recording this, initially it was going to be Soleil and Owen. Owen's recording, uploading, all of that equipment, bandwidth, something, server issues aren't quite up to speed. He can have this whole thing downloaded, uploaded, all of that technical stuff for you to watch on YouTube the next day. He can't on his. So is there anyone else who would like to join Sove in doing this? Thomas? All right, so I want you to jump in with him up to speed, check that out, work with her. And my whole thought is I want, like today, that's why I said let's record today's class. These people who are missing, it's an absence, but if you want to catch what you missed during your absence, then you have the chance to go home and watch this and pick up on the lecture portion of this material. Sometimes reading it, you'll miss some stuff. I know sometimes it's written in a dry fashion. Sometimes you'll miss some of the lecture, but between A, B, notes, all of that stuff, hopefully you're going to get a good grasp of the material that we have to go over for the class. And when and if, not so much if, but when COVID strikes, we'll see if the state is still willing to allow you to make up those COVID absences by, what we've done in the past, either live, which would be logging in with FaceTime, which we did, I think, with you for some, or watch it back on, where we put YouTube, and then you'll have an extra assignment thrown in there based on that content. So it's not like you can just say, yeah, I watched it. It's like there's going to be questions based on that you have to turn in the written form. So it's just the state wanting to make sure that you do watch that. So there'll be that option for when COVID hits. But the nice thing about it is they did make an exception. First time I've ever known them to do that for COVID absences. I mean, I've unfortunately been part of academies where people were going through chemotherapy because they had cancer. And once they hit the 90% mark, the state said, you're out of the class. Come on. So they're very rigid on the hours. Do not expect any leniency on that. COVID is the best you're going to get. Homework. Look at your chapter 6 homework. Lot of stuff. Some of you did excellent on it. Some of you missed some major things here that I wanted to go over. Let me grab yours. True, false. Portable fire extinguishers, number 1, are often suitable for more than one class of fire. True. Okay. People put false on that. It's possible to have a BC extinguisher, an ABC extinguisher, an AC extinguisher, an AB extinguisher, BC. Class C extinguisher agents are capable of conducting electricity. False. That's the only thing that they are there for is, do I conduct it or don't I? And if you have a C rating, it means you don't conduct electricity. You can still be an extinguishing agent if you conduct electricity, but you will not get that C rating. Third one, a portable fire extinguisher should be used for the types of fires for which it is intended. True. Hey, that looks like a test question to me. I've seen that one before. Water and water-based agents cannot be used on Class C fires unless until the electricity has been shut off. True. Okay. Water conducts electricity. And then a small little asterisk about that today. We'll talk about a different extinguishing agent that's a little bit different. But that question, true. 5, when using an AFFF extinguisher, the operator should apply foam directly on the fuel. False. Okay, you can bank it in off of something so you don't disrupt the liquid level. Again, if I had a pot of water here and I had a super soaker and I hit it from this end with a super soaker, it is not going to spill out on the other end. Yes, so we'd rather bank it in off something. Number 6, clean agent extinguishers should not be used to extinguish fires in electrical equipment. False. Should not be used to extinguish fires in electrical equipment. Okay. Does anyone have false and I have the mark wrong? You do. I must have missed that one. That looks like a false one to me. Clean agent extinguishers, make sure I'm reading it right. Clean agent extinguishers should not be used to extinguish fires in electrical equipment. And that is false because all clean agent extinguishers have a C rating. So that one, I missed all on that. That one is correct. 7, dry chemical agent application may result in a cloud of airborne particulates that may reduce visibility and create respiratory problems. True. Expect that. It is a big cloud that hangs in the air for a while. 8, any dry powder agent can be used on any combustible metal. False. Combustible metals have their own specific man-made extinguishing agent that is designed for that Class D metal only. Don't get them mixed up. 9, dry powder extinguishing agents should be applied gently to avoid breaking the crust that may form over burning metal. True. That is true. That is what we want to happen. We want this man-made product to cover that burning metal, and by doing so, it creates a shell over that burning metal. That excludes oxygen. So number one, takes away the flame by removing the oxygen, and then over time, it will cool down, right? So think of this as, you know the stuff you can buy to put on your ice cream that creates a shell? You pour it over the top, chocolate syrup or something, creates a shell. That's kind of what this is. You put it over the top, it's like a squirt bottle. You'll shovel it or use an extinguisher, it comes in extinguishers. Shovel it, scoop it, or extinguish it on there, but you want to completely cover it to create that shell. It melts in with the metal and forms that shell. That's what we want. That's the air excluding shell. 10, when using a portable fire extinguisher, the operator should approach the fire from the leeward side. False. Windward side. Upwind on that one. Most of you guys did fine on C, fill in the blank. Number 1 was pictographs. Some of you basically just said colored shapes, which is kind of what the first one was, probably geometric shapes. The types of extinguishers. A, both of the pictures in A are stored pressure water extinguishers. Stored pressure because the pressure is on there. See the little red gauge there? That is a gauge, it has pressure. It is a squirt gun that is armed and ready to go. Okay. The second, number 2, the one on the left is a stored pressure dry chemical extinguisher. You can see the pressure gauge on that one, up on the top, the red dot. Okay, and then the one on the right is a cartridge operated dry chemical extinguisher. And then that little red cartridge cover on the ground is what covers that cartridge that you can see on the right side of that. One extra step in using that type of an extinguisher. Number 1, there's no pressure on it as it sits in the cabinet. But if you go through and we all know PASS, P-A-S-S, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep for extinguishers, not personal safety system for the last chapter, there's one extra step here. Pull, aim, squeeze, and then push down on that top little lever, which punctures that cartridge right underneath it, which pressurizes the unit through a little connecting tube, which you can't really see in this picture. Okay, so one extra step for those. Fortunately, there aren't many of those around. At one point in time, we thought it was a good idea that there were no pressure on it, so the people who worked there could inspect the extinguisher, and then we realized that people are stupid, and we should not allow them to look inside of extinguishers, because they do stupid things. And then number 3, those are both CO2 extinguishers, carbon dioxide fire extinguishers, smaller one on the left, and then a larger one on the right that you can see goes above his knee down to the ground. All right. Most of the rest of them were okay. Some of us got a few of the multiple choices wrong. Short answers. Number 2, what is the difference between a dry chemical extinguisher and a dry powder extinguisher? Some of you had the perfect answer. No, tell it. Read yours.
Dry chemical agents are for use on class A, B, C, and or class B, C. Dry powder agents are for use on class D. Dry chemical, any one of a number of powder extinguishing agents. Dry powder extinguishing agents are suitable for use on combustible metal fires.
All right, so just to submit, this is just words. Don't let them trip you up. Dry chemicals are BC or ABC. Dry powders are those family of agents that call themselves class D. Okay, so don't mix them up. They sound the same. And if I said describe this class AB extinguishing agent, this dry chemical, which looks like baking soda, you'd say it looks kind of powdery. Okay, it's a good description, but it's a dry chemical. Class D is a dry powder. All right, got it? All right. Pulling squeeze sweep for number 5. Number one, what size and type of extinguisher would you select to extinguish the fire? Okay, this is obviously, to read the scenario, it's a fire in a coffee pot, next to a microwave, next to a toaster. So they're trying to say this is an electrical fire. So what can you use to put it out? If you put anything water-based, that is incorrect. Unless you said, I would make sure that the power were turned off first, and then you could use a water-based. Other than that, you gotta use something that's good for Class C. So a dry chemical fire extinguisher would be fine. A clean extinguishing agent, CEA, halon alternative, whatever you want to call it, we'll talk about those later. Those would be fine. Or some of you can put down an AC water mist extinguisher, and that actually is a good answer as well. But we don't carry those on trucks. They're very specialized. You'll hardly ever see them in real life. So don't plan on having those on your trucks. All right, so that was some of the, this one I looked at, the homework that kind of bothered me. A lot of long answers on that one. All right, stand up if you know how many extinguishers are on the Howell engine. All right. Morris, how many?
3.
Sit down if you agree with him. Okay. Owen.
There's 2.
Sit down if you agree with him. Okay. 2. What are they? Mike. AC/DC, one of my favorite bands, but we do not have an AC extinguisher because that would be a water mist, which I just said.
Look at A1 and
Still no. Oh, okay, I'll give you half credit. I'll give you half credit, because there is,
A class with water extinguisher.
Stored pressure water extinguisher, class A.
The other one's a B and C class extinguisher.
okay, what's in it?
2.
CO2, carbon dioxide. Okay, so those are the 2 that are on, both on the back of the engine, you know, the compartments, they're both sitting on the outside there. So familiarize yourself with them, and we will go on with where we left off. Questions on extinguishers? All right. Do we need to stop and restart? Are smaller chunks better, or keep going?
Just keep going.
Keep going. All right. So we left off on this slide. Before we got to here, we talked about numerical ratings and your, so A, B, C, D, and K, those are called colored geometric shapes is all they are. However, on your portable extinguishers, every color of ink costs money. So you'll rarely see colors unless they buy an aftermarket sticker and stick it to the front of the extinguisher. But the 2 things that should be biggest on the extinguisher are, unfortunately, number 1 is the name of the company that makes it. They want you to know what company made it. And number 2 is the classes of fire that is intended to be used on. So you will only see in our US system, right across the top, the colored geometric shapes. You'll only see the classifications that the extinguisher has earned. So the water extinguisher only has a capital letter A and a triangle. The other extinguisher, the CO2, only has a capital letter B inside of a red square and a capital letter C inside of a circle that is blue. Only what it's earned will what it has. So if it's a class D, it's a dry powder extinguisher, it will just have that capital letter D and a star. If it has color, it will be yellow. And then we gave up on that. We said there's too many people that don't speak English, so why can't call the next class E? Let's just call it K, because it kind of stands for kitchen. But again, remember, it does not stand for your kitchen or my kitchen. It stands for commercial kitchens that have deep fat fryers, typically above 25 gallons on those. So green triangle for A, red square for B, blue circle for C, yellow star for D, and then that 6 sides. What's a 6-sided thing called? Hexagon. Okay. With capital letter K in it. So that's what we got. But then we moved to international picture cylinders. We talked about the numbers yesterday, 1A through 40A for numerical ratings on Class A extinguishers. All we needed to remember was what? Come on, folks. What do we need to you remember about those numbers, 1 through 40.
So shoe size,
The bigger it is, the more it'll do. Okay, so the bigger the number, the bigger the capability that it has. 1A through 48 on the A's. Remember, again, kind of that 1A extinguisher put out the same as 1 1/4 gallons of water, and you know the history on it because it just doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it equal 1 for 1 gallon? It just has to do with history. And then B ratings, the numerical ratings on B are 1B through 640B. Those are the only two that have numerical ratings in front of them. It won't be on the front of the extinguishers in most cases. It'll be in the small print in the back. So you probably won't know that. And do we need the people out there, the lay people, to know that? No. We just want to know classes of fire. It's a portable extinguisher. You can pick it up and you can use it if it matches a class of fire. We don't want to get into sizes on them. Because again, people are stupid. They would get out measuring tapes. They would ask what the size of that is. How many gallons do you think it would take out? We don't want them to know that much stuff about it. All right, and then over here on this side are the pictographs. So this basically says English is not the only language out there. So everyone should be able to use an extinguisher, no matter what country it was made in, no matter what country the wall is that they sit on. Everyone should be able to use that. Slight difference in this. In this one, you will see all 3 of those pictographs next to each other. The first one has got like a waste basket burning and then some logs burning, and my horrible campfire drawing, burning. This one has got like a gas can, contents spilled and burning, and this one's got like an electrical outlet with flames coming in. So in any language, that's Class A, ordinary combustibles, that's Class B, flammable liquids, and that's Class C, energized electrical equipment. If that's a water extinguisher, like the one on our engine, it's going to have that international don't do / through here and here. Okay, if it's a BC extinguisher, like a carbon dioxide extinguisher, it'll have the international / through here. Like the no right turn has got the arrow pointing right with a / through it. That's what that's gonna have. / don't do it. All right, D and K are gonna be specialized. It's just gonna have one pictograph if it's a D or a K. And again, I've seen, I think, 3 different pictographs that all depict Class D. Again, it's very rare that you'll have a Class D fire. I can count on 2 hands the number of Class D fires I've gone on in my career. It's not that common, well, more than that, but small amounts in a lot of them. Or very unreactive in case of need. And then K, we threw that on there too, which is a horrible one. But again, if we tried to put in a picture of a DFAT fire, what would you think it was? Would you know it? Probably not. You think it was a big box, you think it's a rectangle, you think it's a TV set, you know, computer screen, anything other than that. So they can put this on there, which that's not going to be a K. That's just too small. We'll put that out with a dry chemical extinguisher. All right, so, good. Questions on those? All right. Class A, ordinary combustibles. Textiles, paper, plastic, rubber, wood. Textiles, clothing, curtains, drapes, carpeting, okay, textiles, cloth material, I don't know, is that a better term for textiles? Hey Siri, what's the definition of textiles?
As a noun, textile means a type of cloth or woven fabric.
Alright, so, that kind of stuff. Do you have that in your home? Yep. Does the person next to you have that in your home? Yep. Would you say that 95% of your home is that stuff? Yep. And the person next to you and everyone else in the community that you live in, over 95% of our homes are right there. Okay? Which is why we have a lot of nozzles and a lot of hose and a big pump on our truck. Because it'll put out 99% of the fires we go on. Okay, so that's it, when we talk about people's homes. The other things, though, is for a loop. So again, as I alluded to yesterday, the only reason we have Class B, C, D, and K is because water is not the only answer. Water is the answer for A, which is the vast majority of the fires we're gonna go on. But water does not do well with these. What happens when we put water on this?
It just spreads it.
Spreads it, because water is lighter, it has a specific gravity less than 1, so you're just gonna spread the fire there. And if it's in a confined vessel like we saw in that commercial, it goes to the bottom, it expands, it rises, steam comes up, and it froths over and spreads it in that direction. C, why not C?
Because it can electrocute you.
Conducts electricity. D, reacts violently with that, we'll see that in the video. And then K, kind of similar to this one, similar. I can't put it out. All right, so extinguishing agents for Class A materials, water. And then it also said water-based agents. So, again, I'm gonna get a little bit ahead of where we're gonna go, we're gonna be here shortly. But if I have a foam extinguisher in front of me, a foam gives it a Class B foam, it's gonna give it a B rating. To make Class B foam, and it'll be the same 2.5 gallon water pressure extinguisher that we've been talking about that's existed in history for hundreds of years. We're gonna take that 2.5 gallon water pressure extinguisher and we're gonna fill it up with 94 parts water and 6 parts of Class A foam concentrate. So, this much foam concentrate. The rest of that 2.5 gallon extinguisher will be filled with water. So, because it's almost 2.5 gallons, does it get a rating? Yeah, it's gonna get a 1 or maybe even a 2 A rating. So, it does get an A rating. But, you don't want to use that unless that's your only option in the world to use a Class B foam extinguisher on a Class A fire. Because that truck out there is set up for water. Water, water, water. If I use that Class B foam extinguisher on a water fire, we gotta go back to the station, we gotta empty out the contents of the extinguisher, we gotta clean it out, we've got to recharge it with more foam concentrate and water, and we need to pressurize it so it's good to go, and that costs money and time. Water, quick and simple. So it's on there because it has water in it, but we're not going to use it if at all possible. Right, Chapaska? Right, Chapaska? Okay. What would I do if I were falling asleep in this class? All right. And dry chemicals. So not all dry chemicals have an A rating, correct? Correct. Some are BC. But some are ABC. Well, one is ABC, only one. So if I were to, and I've kind of alluded before, and I don't mean to say other people are stupid and do dumb things, but again, the accountant knows numbers way better than I do, and they can figure out a whole lot of stuff that I can't do in my head, in their head, and because it's second nature to them. But a fire extinguisher is not. So I like to think that they might do something that I would say is dumb. It's just that they don't deal with it all the time. They don't know it. So, if I were to have someone come up to me and say, what type of fire extinguisher should I buy to put in my home in case we have a fire, what would my answer be? No, I'm going to go ABC. Okay, remember, there's one dry chemical that will put out ABC fires. Did I not cover just 99.9999999% of everything in everybody's home with Class ABC? Because where are you most likely to have your fire in your home? What room? Kitchen. Okay. Will a Class A, which is going to be water-based, put that out? No, it won't. It's going to spread. It's going to make it worse. And if people are dumb about extinguishers, uneducated about extinguishers, then they're going to take the wrong action. I have an extinguisher. Okay, and they may forget all about the classes of fire. So I want an idiot-proof extinguisher. If you want an idiot-proof extinguisher, get an ABC. You almost can't make a mistake. Because none of us have D in our home, almost. And none of us have K in our home, almost. I mean, it could be the person who says, we got a deep fat fryer in our kitchen, 25 gallon. Okay, then you do have a K. And someone else who said, I've got some magnesium in the home because we do blah, 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 whatever you want to use that for. Okay, stand corrected, but you typically will not find them there. All right. Questions on this? All right. Class A extinguishers rate from 1A to 40A. We talked about that yesterday. The rating is based on the amount of water in the duration and range of the discharge. To calculate the capacity, multiply the number in front of the A by 1 1/4, and you will get that. So we did that yesterday. Don't multiply it if you don't have to, because no one wants to know how many gallons of water equivalent will that extinguisher put out. We don't care. Okay? Will it put it out or won't? Okay? Because if you tell me water will put it out, I'm going to bet on that fire engine out there that we're going to overpower that fire. Doesn't always work. Menominee, one example. We've got tons of fire, not enough water. But most fires we're going to be able to overpower because we got tons. We got a tank, we've got hydrants, we've got a system to drop off water, and we've got hoses, and we've got nozzles, and we've got people. So we can't go wrong with it. We don't need to know math unless you get a test question that makes you do that. Flammable combustible. So again, rounding it up, 1 1/4 gallons of water. If I have a 20A extinguisher, forget the quarter. Is it going to be a number bigger than 20 gallons of water? Yeah, because it's 1 1/4. So again, it's going to be, so look for that obvious thing if you see it on a test question. Look for an obvious, simple answer. Or look for something where you don't have to do math. The 20A extinguisher will put out more fire than a 10A extinguisher. Yep, it's bigger. Bigger number puts out more stuff. Same thing with B. Bigger number puts out more stuff. Approximate square footage of a flammable liquid fire. But flammable liquids behave differently. So they use a liquid that is simple, clean, and easy to maintain, that you'll never fight that fire in your life. Okay? What flammable liquid fire do you think you're going to be fighting in your career a lot of?
Gasoline.
Gasoline, number 1 most common flammable liquid out there in the world. What does UL use for this test? Heptane. Anyone's car run on heptane? No, it's not what it's for. I don't know what it's for. So it's not used out there other than measuring. Okay, so kind of just to let you know numbers.
Have you ever seen a 640B extinguisher? How big?
Yes, we'll take a look at one. It's going to be a big wheeled unit. So again, when we talk about portable fire extinguishers, I like to think it's the one on the wall that anyone can grab and pick up and use. And those can go to 40B, those can put out 40 square feet, and I don't know what exactly the number is, but probably on that one. But to get 640, you're gonna get a big one that stands about this tall. It's on like a kickstand, and you kick it onto the wheels, and then you take it where you need to go. Within a large factory or plant, typically where they have fire brigade people who will operate that. That's not really meant for your standard 70-year-old woman who works in the office and does accounting. That's kind of meant for a fire brigade type of a setting. Class B fuels: alcohol, gasoline, lubricating oils, LPGs, liquefied petroleum gases. What can we use to put out Class B fires? Carbon dioxide, dry chemicals, BC rated. All dry chemicals have a C rating. It's either BC or ABC. Or Class B foam. So here's where that water-based extinguisher comes in. But normally you think of Class B and water not working, but it's a Class B foam. So what we've done is we've taken water, added a foam concentrate to it, and we have made a new solution that has a specific gravity that is less than flammable liquids. So this new foam stuff sits on top of the surface of flammable liquids, excluding oxygen from getting to it, smothering, and eventually cooling. Yeah. All right, so those are our agents for Class B. Class B extinguishers, 1B through 640B. Rating is based on the approximate square footage area of flammable liquid fire that a non-expert operator can extinguish using that one extinguisher. So for every about 1 square foot, so 12 by 12. Class C, water-based agents cannot be used until the electricity is shut off, because once you shut the electricity off, it is no longer a C fire, because C is energized electrical equipment. So the same TV that's on the wall right now, which is a Class C fire, if it were to catch fire, if I unplug it, it is no longer a C fire, okay? If you see it, assume that it's plugged in unless you can prove otherwise. So if you see this sitting on the wall, you can assume it's plugged into an entertainment center and the wires are down there that way. Unless it's a garbage night, and this is an old one, and I'm throwing it out, it's at the street, and it's not connected to anything, then that one's not going to be a Class C fire. Someone had a question? Casey?
What type of class extinguisher would you use on like a generator?
Generator, so, even though the components are going to be metal, I'm assuming not Class D, because those are pretty uncommon. So I could use anything on that, but it runs on natural gas, propane, or gasoline, a flammable liquid or gas, which is gonna put it up into the Class B category. So to be safe, I would use a dry chemical fire extinguisher, BC rated.
Say like there's a toaster on fire, would you go right to using a Class C type agent, or would you like plug it and you can then just use water?
If I can get to the plug, I'm gonna unplug it. If it's down behind the stove, plugged in there, I may not go to that extent. Sometimes we can, so again, I kinda hate to say this, but I gotta add common sense to some of this stuff. Sometimes our GPM, gallons per minute, coming out of our nozzle will overpower a little toaster or a little microwave or something like that. So sometimes we get away with some stuff. But sometimes we do shut off the power or pull the plug or shut off the power down in the basement or the back of the house, wherever it happens to be. But not always. But again, water conducts electricity. If you have a fog nozzle, which breaks up a stream into little droplets of water, are you connected to the end of the water stream? There's little drops in between you, so you're not really. If you have it on a solid stream, you're more likely to pass that back. But again, so what does your department typically use? Because a solid stream, you can't change your pattern, but the adjustable or combination nozzle, you can change it to a fog. So that can help us out with some of this stuff. But again, some of the stuff we just overpower. So Class C, extinguishing agents. Water-based agents can't be used until electricity is shut off. Class C agents will not conduct electricity. Remember, that's their only test is C. We take something that's electrically charged and we check back here to see if there's electricity flowing through the agent. If there is, you don't get a C. Water, you won't get a C. But other agents will get a C. It doesn't conduct electricity. So all of your dry chems, all of your halons, your CO2, they'll get a C rating. Once the power supply is off, treat it as a different class of fire, which it will be. Class C extinguisher is not specifically rated because of capability. So you'll never see a Class C only extinguisher. You'll see a BC, an ABC, and there exists an AC, but you'll almost never see it. All right. D, combustible metals. Class D, titanium, lithium, probably the most popular of those is magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Again, very, very low. The lowest ranking you can get on the reactivity scale is aluminum, but aluminum is again one of those ones where you can just overpower it with water, and you'll see almost no effect on that one. Because you'll go on aluminum fires. A lot of things are made of aluminum, and we use water on those all the time. But magnesium, these listed are highly reactive when water is put on them. So we will see videos of that because there's some lessons to be learned in those. In fact, I don't know if you remember very early on, I think I showed you a picture of a firefighter going up to a van. I said, what's the worth of this van? And we all agreed it was worth about 0. And then he opened up the nozzle. That water hit burning magnesium which caused the sparking back into his face, which was the negative side of all that. And we talked about it during safety in chapter 1. We'll see that one again in this chapter. So, magnesium, fire is identified by a bright white emission during combustion. So normally we are used to flames that are yellowish, orangish, reddish in color. This one is going to be different. It's going to be bright white. So something's going to tell you this is not a normal looking fire here. Magnesium, common uses, where do we find those? Cameras, again, little bits of these. How big is your camera? Yeah, tiny. So if there's a piece of magnesium in there, we're going to overcome it with water, and you'll never even notice the little extra spark in there. We overpower that one. Laptops, again, of all the things that make this up, how much magnesium is in there? A tiny, tiny bit. Luggage, box springs. Some automobiles have some magnesium parts in them where you will see a little bit of a flare up, because you're going to go on a lot of car fires. Transmission, so again, car stuff, which you are seeing, again, of the 10 combustible metal fires that have gone on of any significance, over half of them had to do with vehicles. Caution, the use of water or water-based agents on Class D fires will cause the fire to react violently, emit bits of molten metal, and could injure nearby firefighters. So it is going to be a splattering out of this molten pieces. And so again, that's going to be, we'll see what happens when water hits it, because again, that's our next lesson. So if you didn't notice the bright white, then you saw what happened when you put water on it. Then you shut the line down and you go back to the memory banks. This must be a Class D metal, okay? And then you'll evaluate those options from that point. All right, so extinguishing agents, dry powders work the best. They are made to put out Class D fires. Don't confuse dry powders with dry chemicals. Dry chemicals, BC or ABC. Dry powders are made specifically for Class D. Class D extinguisher ratings, variety of factors, so we don't give numbers to them, because a small amount of this agent on this fire could put it out completely, but when you put that same amount of different agent on a different Class D fire, it may not make a dent in it. So we don't bother with numerical ratings on those and just confuse the issue. Use only Class D rated fire extinguishers to extinguish metal fires that are Class D. A lot of your metals are Class K, cooking oil. So there is a deep fat fryer there. That's what it looks like. Vegetable or animal fats, oils that burn at high temperatures. Locations, okay, so industrial cooking facilities, commercial and institutional kitchens, restaurants, private homes should be very, very last on that. Because who has a deep fat fryer in their home? Okay. I have a fry pan. Okay, it holds about a gallon of flammable liquid, cooking oil, and we can, nacho chips or things like that, you can put in there. But it's a gallon. Okay? So if that catches on fire, remember it's burning, it's giving itself up to the vapors that are coming out. By the time the fire department gets there, it's mostly burned out. And what's next? What's left, we can overpower with water. If there's this much oil left, we can splatter it, it will spread, it will go to a billionth of an inch thick, it will continue to burn itself out and will be gone. So it's not that big of a deal. These, however, are 25 gallons or better, so that's an issue. All right, so not so much homes. Class K extinguishers. Wet chemical systems or wet chemical extinguishers are what we have come up with again. So this is the newest extinguishing agent out there, 20-some years, 30 maybe, on this one, that we've come up with this and use it in widespread facilities. All right, so here's your big word, saponification. All right, so what does that mean? That says that when you put wet chemical onto a hot cooking oil, it will create a resultant thick, soapy mixture that completely seals over the top of that flammable liquid, that cooking oil. Okay. And of course it does have to vent, so it will open just like a little volcano thing. It'll open, I'll let that steam to release, and then it'll self-seal. So it won't allow the oxygen to come back through there and allow it to reignite. The whole purpose of that. So we completely cover the surface of the cooking oil with wet chemical. That saponification creates your coating that you want to keep intact. So the way I remember that is the first 4 letters in that great big word, saponification, are S-A-P-O. If you flip them around, it will spell soap, S-O-A-P. And it's a soapy type of a mixture. Again, you'll see it in the videos at the end, and it'll hopefully make a bit more sense. All right, questions? No rest so far. All right, stay 5.